the 20th of February, 1943. North of Kasserine Pass, Tunisia. The battle report would never capture what German tank commanders saw that morning. American Shermans performing maneuvers that defied every rule in the Wehrmacht playbook. Through dust and smoke, 5 tanks, scattered by broken terrain and invisible to one another, converged on German positions with uncanny timing. No flags, no flares, no dispatch riders. Yet they moved like a single organism, each hull guarding the blind spots of the others, each crew somehow knowing where every friendly tank was. In Panzer IVs fitted with Fugue 5 sets, German commanders strained to hear company leaders through a wall of static. 10-watt AM transmitters cutting edge in the 1,930 seconds barely reached a few hundred meters once the tracks started rolling. Many German tanks had receivers only, unable to call for help or report targets. The Americans were using something the Germans didn't realize existed. Frequency-modulated radios in every single tank, crystal-controlled precision, 25 watts of power, and clarity that sliced through engine roar and artillery like a knife through paper. 8,000 miles from Detroit's assembly lines, the most decisive technological advantage of World War II was revealing itself not in armor, thickness, or gun caliber, but in the invisible electromagnetic web that linked every American tank crew on the battlefield. The Quiet Revolution. The transformation began the 22nd of July, 1941, when the U.S. Army standardized the Signal Corps SCR 508, SCR 528, and SCR 538 families for all medium tanks. While German spearheads drove into the Soviet Union using radios chiefly in command vehicles, American engineers at Galvin Manufacturing, soon to be Motorola, perfected FM sets that would make AM battlefield systems obsolete. Daniel E. Noble pushed FM into combat vehicles. Henryk Magnuski solved the brutal RF and vibration challenges inside a tank. The result weighed about 181 pounds and turned every Sherman into a node in history's first practical armored battlefield network. Inside the Sherman's network brain, the BC-604 transmitter put out 25 watts, 2.5 times the Fugue 5's 10 watts, operating from 20 to 27.9 megahertzes, with 10 crystal-locked presets. Dual BC-603 receivers in the SCR 508 let commanders monitor multiple nets at once, platoon and company, without retuning. Edwin Armstrong's FM technology, licensed to the military, crushed the static that plagued AM. Ignition spikes, generator whine, track arcs, artillery crackle, all minimized or rejected by FM's capture effect. Where German AM sets turned the battlefield into noise, American FM delivered plain speech. First trials by Fire Operation Torch, the 8th of November 1942 landed American armor in North Africa. 2nd Armored Division tanks rolled ashore with SCR 508 seconds that quickly proved their worth. The Afrika Korps, the Wehrmacht's elite armored force, faced a bitter truth. A standard German 5-tank platoon often had just 1 or 2 full transceivers. The rest carried receivers only. Orders could go down, but not back up. When the command tank with the extra antennas died, so did the platoon's coordination. The vulnerability was baked into the net. The lesson Germans didn't expect. February 14-24, 1943. Tactically, Kasserine was a German success, but it also exposed a capability that stunned Wehrmacht observers. Across 50 miles of chaos, scattered elements of the U.S. 1st Armored Division stayed knitted together. Tank crews who had never met coordinated fires warned each other of flanking threats and called artillery in minutes because their radios made strangers into teammates. German signals units intercepted American voice traffic and wrote almost disbelieving about the clarity and reach. The Fug 5 on AM between to 27 and 33.3 megahertzes managed 2-3 kilometers in ideal conditions, dropping to mere hundreds of meters when moving, while every spark plug, relay, and motor sang interference into the net. The Americans? Clear, reliable, everywhere. Italy, FM in the mountains, September 1943, Italy. Terrain that should have neutralized radios made the difference even sharper. FM handled multipath and reflections in valleys far better than AM. Sherman's coordinated blind over ridgelines where flags were useless, and German sets faded to static. After-action reports from 1st Armored called multi-kilometer coordination routine in places the enemy considered radio dead. Normandy. The missing link and a fix in weeks. The 6th of June 1944. Sherman tanks rolled off LCAs at Normandy. Their SCR 508 seconds, already tied into naval gunfire, nets coordination impossible with German tech. But the bocage exposed a gap. Tank nets, 27.9 MHz. Couldn't talk to infantry SCR 300. Walkie-talkies, 48 MHz. In hedgerow mazes, German Panzerfaust teams stalked Shermans, while friendly infantry had no way to warn them. The American fix was brutal and brilliant. EE-8 field telephones in ammo boxes welded to the stern, hardwired to the tank intercom. By Operation Cobra in late July, a rifleman could slap the handset and speak straight to the tank commander. Tank-infantry cooperation changed overnight. Operation Cobra. Radio as maneuver power July 25-30, 1944, with Major General Edward H. Brooks commanding over 200 Shermans of 2nd Armored moved like a flock. Reports of anti-tank guns flowed across platoon nets. Tank destroyers received targeting from tanks they couldn't see. Artillery observers riding in command. Shermans dropped fires within minutes of a call. Opposite them, Panzer Lehr, once Germany's premier armored division, fought in communication poverty. Without reliable sets, with visibility often under 100 meters, and with AM range choked by terrain and interference, German coordination dissolved. The Americans seemed clairvoyant. They weren't just connected. Why America could wire every tank, Motorola's Chicago, lines retooled from car radios to war sets, building to exacting tolerances. Each SCR 508 took 2,748 parts. A BC 604 alone packed 474 capacitors and 385 resistors. Crystals had to hold frequency through heat, shock, and dust. Production told the real story. To 3,800 sets in 1,942. To 11,400 inches. 1,943. To 24,000 inches, 1,944. More than 50,000 tank radios by VE Day, enough to equip all 49,324 Shermans with full FM. No other combatant came close. German factories built to 5,700 medium tanks in 1943, but fewer than 2,000 fugue transceivers. Sets were siphoned to command vehicles and assault guns, leaving line tanks mute. Soviet production dwarfed everyone, but radios lagged. Many T-34 seconds fought with flags and pre-planned signals. By war's end, perhaps a quarter had sets often by Lend-Lease. The engineering edge that became doctrine crystal-controlled stability meant fixed, predictable channels, no drift, no fiddling with variable capacitors mid-fight. Dual receivers kept commanders on platoon and company nets at once, preserving the bigger picture while directing local fire. The BC 606 intercom let loaders, gunners, and drivers speak clearly via throat mics and noise-canceling headsets. Many German crews still shouted and tapped shoulders. The dynamotor power supply delivered clean, filtered voltage at 12 or 24 volts. German sets fed from raw vehicle electrics amplified their own noise. In practice, this meant orders cascaded in seconds, not minutes. Contact reports flowed up as fast as they came down. And ad hoc combat commands, combined arms task forces, could be assembled on the fly because everyone could already talk to everyone. Arneville to Ericourt, when radios beat Panthers, September 1944. The 4th Armored Division collided with multiple Panzer brigades, equipped with Panther's superior guns, superior frontal armor, On paper, the Germans should have dominated. In reality, American radio coordination turned paper to ash. Every Sherman could report a Panther's position the instant it appeared. TDs maneuvered into killing angles guided by voice. Artillery spun on target in minutes. Over 3 weeks, 4th Armored knocked out 281 German armored vehicles for 41 Shermans 7-1 that no spec sheet predicts. The blind spot of German intelligence. Again and again, German assessments misread the cause. Reports praised American discipline and procedure, missing the technology that made discipline easy. Tactics targeted command tanks by antenna clusters, unaware every Sherman could command. Ambushes assumed U.S. Units would lose cohesion when separated by terrain. FM nets kept them stitched together regardless of sightlines. Heinz Guderian, father of panzer warfare and a radio evangelist since the 1922nd, understood the principle but couldn't conjure the hardware. By 1943, the industry could not deliver what doctrine required. After the surrender, U.S. Technical Intelligence Report No. 176 put it bluntly. German tank communications were roughly 5 years behind. No FM, too few sets, poor suppression of electrical noise. Soviet evaluators reached the same conclusion and chose to emulate American radio design post-war. Remagen and the Ruhr, speed of command, March 1945. When the 9th Armored Division found the Ludendorff Bridge at Remagen intact, radio reports reached 1st Army within minutes. Entire divisions pivoted within an hour. American fighter bombers, directed by radio-equipped forward controllers, shredded German comm nodes. Inside the developing Ruhr pocket, units lost contact with higher HQ and each other. American armor from separate formations meshed instantly through compatible nets, creating a single coherent defense and offense where the Germans saw only fragments. Human factors, the psychology of connection. American crews fought knowing they were never alone. Even isolated by terrain, they remained inside the net. German crews often fought as individuals, brave, skilled, and blind. Otto Carius wrote eloquently about tactics and terrain. Between the lines is the ache of isolation. In 1944-45, American advances held tempo because the net held together. The Third Army's sprint across France was as much a radio feat as a logistical one. Numbers that tell the truth. American is greater than 50,000 SCR 508 family sets, 49,324 Shermans. Radio deployment 100%. TX power 25 watts. Crystal stability plus or minus 0.01%. Moving range to 7 miles. Stationary 10-15 miles. Average fire mission 3-5 minutes. To 6,000 Fug 5 transceivers. To 12,000 medium divided by heavy tanks. Full transceiver deployment to 20%. TX power 10 watts. Drift plus or minus 1%. Moving range to 0.51 mile. Stationary 2-3 miles. Average fire mission 15-30 minutes. Effectiveness? American tank-to-tank coordination, essentially 100% of units. German, only those few with full sets. What changed forever from the Bocage to the Alps? Radios more than armor or muzzle energy decided who acted first and who merely reacted. The SCR 508 turned the M4 from an adequate medium tank into a component of a system of systems where every other tank, TD, FO, and ship gun was a keystroke away. Field anecdotes say Wilhelm Keitel remarked at the surrender, "We knew how to build better tanks. You knew how to make them work together." Apocryphal or not, it captures the truth. America didn't just field 49,324 Shermans. It fielded 49,324 network nodes. From then to now, modern MBTs carry digital suites, not dynamotors and crystals, but the principles are identical. Universal distribution, interoperable nets, resilient power, crew intercoms, multi-net monitoring, fast fires, the Bundeswehr, rebuilt with radios at the center. every Leopard fielded with integrated comms. In 1991, and again in 2003, network-centric forces dismantled platform-centric opponents. The lesson holds: information dominance outweighs platform superiority. Final beat. In 3 continents of hard fighting, German crews learned too late that the Americans' greatest weapon wasn't thicker armor or a larger gun. It was the invisible lattice binding every tank crew to every other, a lattice that turned individuals into a team and a team into a force. The electromagnetic waves of the SCR-508 proved more decisive than the 88's armor-piercing bite because they delivered what kills battles and wins wars: coordination, speed, shared sight, and shared intent. In modern combat, connection equals survival. Isolation equals defeat.